G'day there, Signets and Swanlings. 2012 Premiership player Nick Smith here. It's my pleasure, as always, to introduce a bevy of bloods, a fan podcast of the Sydney Swans Football Club, brought to you by Noddy and Stevo, a pair of red and white tragics. So pop on the kettle and settle in as the boys had an in-depth chat about the Swans' last game, the Swans' next game, and a little bit about footy too. This is Nick Smith signing off until next week's episode. But in the meantime, remember, be good to your bloods and they'll be good to you.
Welcome back to A Bevy of Bloods. My name's Noddy and I'm joined once again by co-host extraordinaire Chris. Welcome back home, mate. How you going?
Oh, so happy to be home. And after all that game, mate, I've got a lot to talk about.
Good stuff, mate. In this episode number 41, we'll be reviewing that amazing round 12 win against the Demons. So fluff up your tail feathers and settle in for a potentially biased yarn about all things to do with our beloved Bloods. Last Saturday night, our Sydney Swans defeated the Melbourne Demons by 12 points, with us scoring 10-13-73 to their 9-7-61. All right, mate, first impressions, what do you think of that?
Yeah, look, Dees got off to a pretty strong start. That was a bit concerning, but I think from the very, very beginning, I wasn't fussed. It kind of felt like we were amongst it from the very start. They kicked straight. We didn't. That was really the beginning of the game. And then it was just an arm wrestle all the way to the end. And the way that we've been finishing off games lately had made me feel that I think we had this in the bag. So, yeah, a bit of a weird sensation to have there. But across the board, look, they are a skillful team with scary players all across the board. And so it was a whole team effort from the Swans, and it really felt like that. What about you? How did you feel?
It was just really exciting and stressful. It was probably the best game this year, I think. There's been a couple of other good games across the AFL, but I think that was, I mean, certainly as a Swans fan, it was unbelievable, wasn't it? So just touching on some of the points you've said there, yeah, look, second week in a row, we conceded 5 goals in the first quarter, looking pretty dire. But really, it was just our conversion. We were only 17% and they were 83%. And then moving on to that, our massive second quarter where we bounced back, 9 scoring shots to 2. And it was just our pressure, just so much pressure. It was unreal. Then, of course, they came back in the third. And as you said, they were pretty wasteful and they'll be ruining that. And then it was a pretty tight fourth. And it was just a couple of moments, really big moments. And if you're a Swans fan, awesome moments. And that was pretty much the difference. But love to get out on top against the reigning premiers on their home deck, mate.
So good. And it really is. The Dees are the team to beat. We've been saying this all year, and they are so damn good. Freo beat them last week. Swans beat them this week. And that's not against the Dees necessarily. I think we've just got 2 teams of young players that are getting hungry, starting to find their form. And yeah, it's a bloody exciting time once again to be a Swans fan every single week.
One thing I've noticed with all the media this week is that they seem to just be very briefly touching on how the Swans played, and they're focusing more on how the Demons didn't play. You know, obviously a lot has been said with Stephen May out of the team, and it's cancelled with Buddy out. But you know, I think that them missing Stephen may have proven to be the difference more so than us missing Buddy. Obviously, we're going to talk about that in depth. Mate, I just want to add to that, quirky little stat. The last time that the Demons lost 2 in a row was also to Freo and Sydney, and that was rounds 15 and 16 in 2020. So that's history.
That's a nice stat.
Yeah, history repeating itself. So we'll take that. Mate, let's talk about some key takeaways and stats. How'd you see it?
Look, first and foremost, I want a big shout out to the Swans fans down there at the MCG. There was absolutely more Swans fans than D fans.
Oh, yeah. Unbelievable, wasn't it?
Why was that? I don't know. Who knows why the Dees fans aren't turning up to their own team? Are they just used to all the success they've had after 1 year? Who knows? But
well, they had like 38,000 or something, so a little bit more than what we normally get at the SCG. And this is, they had 80,000 for the Pies and the Blues there a couple of weeks ago, whenever it was, last week.
Yeah, and I heard some excuses. It was raining. It was cold. Isn't that just Melbourne? I thought that's what the normal weather is.
We do love Melbourne. We love Melbourne.
But that's massive shout out to the Swans fans down there. They were loud. They were.
It was awesome.
It looked like and it felt like a home game for the Swans. Honestly, that the way that the crowd was responding to everything, that was pretty nice. Look, on the numbers front, we were negative 43 in disposals. So we were beaten up with the ball. Negative 19 in hitouts. Definitely beaten up in the ruck, and I can go through the numbers a little bit more. But we were +3 in clearances. So they had the ball. Our pressure was just outstanding. Really, really put a number on them. We were negative 10 in clangers as well. So like across the board, they seemed to have more of the ball. They had more of the hit outs, but our pressure was so much higher. You've talked about the tackles. You'll go through it a bit more in a second. And we just forced these intercepts and these turnovers and these clangers across the board. So just a phenomenal effort by every member in the team, even the full forward in Sam Reed, which we'll talk about as well. Everyone across the board was doing their job with getting tackles in, with getting pressure acts in. And it just was the game, I feel. I just put enough on them that we turned the ball over and managed to get the most out of it.
Yeah, mate, that's it. Hey, I mean, even Horse, who said it was pretty much an even contest. You know, he used this term ebbing and flowing. He used that a couple of times. So, and it really did. I think it was, we won the second and fourth quarters. They won first and third, but we ended up on top for the first half and, of course, at the end of the game. So really the big stat that jumped out for me, and it's been spoken about at length, is tackles, right? So we were +22 for the game. If we break it down in quarter by quarter, we were +7 in the first quarter. We were +11 in the second quarter. So that's our big quarter. We were +5 in the third and +1. So it's a pretty even contest in the fourth. But all in all, an additional 22 tackles that you're making. Remember the other week, the Bombers only tackled 30 for the whole game. And I think it was Millsy had like 13 or something crazy like that. But so this was another one of those games where our pressure rating was off the charts. I think, I was reading that, we pretty much maintained a 1.9 on the pressure, on this very mysterious pressure rating system for the whole game, and the average is 1.8. So we had the pressure the whole game, and those tackle stats backed it up a moment ago. And the other thing that went hand in hand with that, and this is a really big one, is the points that we scored from the turnovers that were created on the back of that tackle pressure. So we scored, I think it was 8-7-55, and the Dees scored 0-5-5. So they literally scored 5 behind. So when they'd normally be averaging, I think it was like 35 or 50 or something crazy. Like a lot of their own points come from tackle pressure and turnovers, but we stopped them from doing it, and we just turned it on. And avenues to goal we'll go through as well. Very pleasing, but it was just one of these games where you're watching. It's stressful. We come out on top, and all is good in the world.
There seems to be a bit of a sub theme going on as well. So our mids, and I'm so excited about the mids that we've got and the way we put it together. So Rowie had an absolute scream of a game, just incredible game.
Definitely.
What he had 30. We'll go through the numbers later, but like 37 pressure acts, like just
best on
ruined
ground.
it, like best on ground in that space. So,
that might have even been like I was actually going to go through and check to see if it was season high, but it feels like it would have been, because I think typically the highest Swan on the ground is getting around that sort of 20, mid 20, high 20, but this is like high 30s. So I think that might be best for a Sydney player all year, but I'll check that out for next week's episode.
It's massive stuff. Like, okay, so let's have a look at our tackle pressure, right? That's a big part of our game. Showed off today, showed off last week, the week before, and the week before that. So Millsy's coming second in the AFL for tackles all round. That's okay. So you expect you don't expect Millsy to do it, but we've been watching him all year, racking up these A-Bob points, knowing what he does defensively. Robot himself, the Robottom, he's got 10th in the AFL in tackles as well. So he's getting his defensive game put together very, very nicely. So we've kind of got this scene where you've got your Parker and your Mills are more your, two-way players, your two-way mids. They're going to be doing offensive, they're defensive. Mills is slightly more defensive and Parker's a bit more offensive. And even with the other two, the two apprentices, I'd like to call them, with Robot and Warner, they're in the same way offensively and defensively minded. You've got your robot being more defensive, and as the game goes on, as his time goes on, he's seemingly starting to put that together. It seems to be a consistent thing of his. And of course, Warner, we know what we can do with the ball when he starts screaming up forward. So the mids are really starting to gel really nicely. And we're starting to get enough pressure around the ball where we're not necessarily missing a Joey quite as much as we were fearful of at the beginning of the year, or even a few weeks ago for that matter. So I think there is something to be said about us sticking to these young guns, about them playing more time together amongst the best of the best in the game, and especially against the Dees and Carlton. So yeah, look, I'm very excited. Let's see where that kind of ends up, but that's probably something that's coming together throughout the year.
Definitely, mate. And it was a nice little moment at the end of the game when Warner and Rowie embraced each other, because I agree with you, mate. Like, I feel like there's really they're starting to really gel, and that's kind of what we want to see. They're all so young. Everyone knows we're young, but really it's just time in the saddle and getting to know everyone, each other's games and wins like this. I mean, it's been spoken about. Is this a landmark win for us? Going forward over the next couple of years, is this the one that we go, yeah, this is the one that we brought it together? But I mean, we had a good spread of contributors, from different age brackets, and but it was just it was very pleasing. And I was just having a quick look there as well, mate, and it looks like our next Parker, Heaney, and then Chad Warner further down, and then Errol Goulden. So they're the Swans in the top 100 for tacklers. And the other interesting thing, I was having a look at goals. I think we're the only team that has 8 different goal kickers in the top 100 for most goals scored. So that shows as well that we're getting goals from a variety of players. But anyway, that's sort of a little bit beside the point. Well, I guess as a segue, we had some good spread of goal kickers at that game, but it was pretty much the 2 that really got us over the line, or 2 or 3 that got us over the line. But anyway, let's have a quick look at how we're running now. So Swannies are coming 6th now on 118.8%. We've got the 8 wins and the 4 losses. We've had 2 wins against top 8 teams, Geelong and Melbourne, 1 against that middle band, Richmond, and we've had our most against bottom 4 teams, GWS, North, West Coast, Hawthorn and Essendon. 4 losses have been Brisbane, Carlton, Western Bulldogs and the Suns. The Demons are still running hot in first, 10 wins, 2 losses. As we've already said, the 2 losses they've had have been against 2 top 8 teams, Freo and Sydney. They've only played 1 other top 8 team and they've won, and that was St Kilda. The rest have been in that middle 6 and in that bottom 4. So, yeah, I mean, they've come up against a hardworking and very exciting Freo, and a potentially next window-defining young Swans on the rise. So, they're going to have to look at themselves as well. But that's fine by me again, mate. All right, let's have a look at some favourite moments. I don't think there were too many missed chances in this one. So, yeah, how did you see it? What did you like about the game, mate?
Well, Gordon's kick from that pocket, that was cold, hard steel. That was no pressure. Iceman. Yeah, that was unbelievable. The pressure on him, you could see it in his eyes. He kind of, for a moment there, he looked aside, like to go, am I going to give this away? Can I make this? He doubted himself for like half a second before he started his walk up. And he slotted it perfectly. What a kick that was. And not only that, he turned around to just give it to some D supporter that was behind him, which I really enjoyed. I like that out of the kid. And he celebrated with everyone at the same time. So, yeah, mate. The golden boot or there's a golden? You tell me. Oh, my God.
Jesus, don't get me started on that, mate. I really wish that they had somehow gotten, front-on footage of that reaction, because obviously it's Heritage Week and we're wearing the red V and we're down in Melbourne. The South fans were giving it to the Dees, and then he does that with 5 minutes to go to get us up in front, right? And then he's just like, just gone. Beat the chest and, had to go at the D's, but, revved up the South and the Swans fans sitting there. It would have been really cool to see, just the emotion in his face, but you could kind of tell anyway, from the camera angle from behind. But yeah, what a moment, just total clutch. I agree. Like, he had that sort of, split second. He's still assessing, looking for different options. And he goes, nothing's on here. I might just have to go and slot this. from 50. All good.
I might just have to take this on by myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what, second year in, what is he, 19, 20 years old, not even?
Yeah.
Just a child. Yeah, you know what? I'm just going to take the entire game on my shoulders and just going to win this game for us all. No worries, guys. I've got this.
We've got so many future captains. I don't know who to even... I mean, Millsy's going to hopefully be there for a long time, but think of all these amazing young players we've got that just are already taking so much responsibility, you know, and just, yeah, it's hopefully only going to mean better and better things. So how about... What else you got there, mate? You got a couple... You spoke about Rowie before.
Yeah, so I've got a big one about Rowie. I don't know if... it's hard, I'm not sure. It was doing its rings around the footage, but Oliver gets it. Clayton Oliver gets the ball. He starts to swing away. Rowie just refuses to let him go. He just grabs him. It's almost like Clayton Oliver was surprised that someone was as strong as he was when he turned him around. Like he had this eye of like, what the fuck? Like he had this look of like, is this my own player that's trying to steal my own ball? And Rowie just grabs the ball off him, rips it out of his hand, then sheds off a tackle, and then runs a couple meters and then gets his clearance. And that was just, I've never seen the robot so angry, so intent. Like he was having a game. I loved it. Really big fan of the boy. I think, like I've said it a few times, I reckon his ceiling is insanely high. We've seen the beginning of him. His field kicking still needs to sharpen up. There's no doubt about that. When he gets in front of a goal, you can have a good go at it. But he's got a great career ahead of him. He's looking really good. And it's easy to teach a kid to be offensively minded, to get into attack mode. You know, get the ball, run in that direction, hit a target, put into these dangerous areas. What's very hard to teach someone, or it's more of a mature aspect, is to play defensively. Put yourself in the right place defensively. Make sure that they don't get the ball out. Put yourself between the two players so they don't get an easy handball off. These are the things that Rowie is doing very, very well. And it's so early in his career to be nailing that kind of stuff. So again and again, week in, week out, I'll keep saying he's got a high ceiling. I'm very excited about him.
Yeah, man.
What about you, mate? What about a couple of moments on your side?
I'm going to back you up there, man. I just think, I've always really liked what his, he's always seemed so serious and hardworking, Rowie, when you listen to his interviews and stuff like that. But he really set the tone for the team, like him and Mills and Warner, and it was just such a pleasing defensive effort. And I think you nailed it there, mate. But otherwise, Tommy Papley with his celebrations and his tongue out, and he's just cheeky and energy, personified. It's just, he really is, they say the barometer, and he was awesome there. And he had a poster at one point, which was a shame because he, that would have given him 3, I think. But I think Tommy had a big one there, and that effort from another Tommy McCartan, in stopping Cozzy, I think that was a pretty big moment as well. We were speaking earlier about moments throughout the game, and especially in the fourth. But yeah, that was a massive one for me. One other thing, not so much about the game. I don't know if anyone else saw this in the footage. I think that the team were waiting for Juzzy to come back, and because he was still like high-fiving everyone in the crowd, and someone had dropped their phone, obviously wanting a picture with him, and he picked it up and threw it back to them. It missed. He went up and sort of threw it again, and it missed again. So I don't know if that person ever got their phone back, but I thought Juzzy is just on another level right now. I just thought that was a cool little thing. He's a character, broadcast.
Yeah. He's such a character. He's got that energy where he just, I don't know, he's always got his tongue out. He's always celebrating anything. I love the kid, just his energy that he has, and he loves being with the team. He said that really up front. He's signed a 4-year deal. To be honest, he hasn't played quite as well as he has since he signed that deal, but nonetheless, he was
pretty big in the fourth, I think.
Guy.
He was pretty good this game, I think. Like, he really just stepped up. He wasn't like the one to take, the mantle of best on ground, but he stepped up. But hey, anything we missed there in favourite moments, we'll probably touch on when we talk about the ABOB medal. So now's a good time to flick on. So let's go over to the ABOB medal, which is our equivalent of the Bob Skilton medal. The Bevies' best bloods this week in 3-2-1 points order were Sammy Reid. Was it Ben Reid or Sammy Reid? We'll get to that in a moment. Sam Reid, Errol Goulden, and Logan McDonald. And we've got a bunch of honourable mentions, obviously, but we'll kick off with these 3 guys. How did you see Reedy's game, mate?
Yeah, look, I don't know who Ben Reed is. I didn't realize he was playing. So that was the joke amongst
His older
them.
brother, though, right?
Obviously.
That looks like him, but how
Yeah.
did he just keep saying that? Shouldn't be the first thing we talk about.
No, that shouldn't be. But nonetheless, it was frustrating for us Swans fans with Sammy Reed coming back into the team. Sammy's had his detractors. And and they're the first. Even last week when he played a good game, and the detractors still came out and it's just like, what a jerk. But these guys don't watch the game. They just start yelling about Sammy Reed. Now, the difference about this game, and I'm going to say it up front right now, Sammy Reed was playing incredibly offensively, incredibly in defense. He was really in a smart place. He was getting the ball, contested marks, hit downs when he needed to, tap downs when he had to.
He looked good against Gawn. He probably played better in the ruck against Gawn than Laddams did.
Yeah, he did well. He did well in there. He got 24%, 17 ruck contests with 4 hitouts. So he did everything that his position is meant to do. The difference about this week over the other weeks that we've said he's played well is that he kicks straight. I'm sorry. If he kicks straight every single week, he's the best player on the ground that we have every single week. He is an excellent, excellent, excellent player, but he just doesn't kick straight. Some weeks he goes a bit quiet, fair enough. But for the most part, Sammy Reed is a good player, and I'm just happy to see him. He's going to collect some Brownlow votes. Who had that on their bingo cards this year? No one, right? But it's great to see Sammy back in the mix of it. Like, you go through the stats, and he was just a very good player across the board and just was an enormous part of our win. Like, not only kicking straight, but just the tackle effort and everything around it, just driving that team forward.
Yeah, there's been a few fans that have come out and said, basically apologising, but, still seeking consistency. I think that's the key. If he comes out and he can perform like this regularly, then clearly he's in our best 22 and deserves to be. As you said, 3 goals, 1 behind. He kicked all his goals in the first half, but he didn't fade away. He was so influential throughout the game. It was really on the back of this defensive effort. 10 tackles from a key forward. 10 tackles is unbelievable.
Yeah, 5 of them inside 50. Massive.
So he's a big part of that whole turnover game, points from turnover. He was a big driver of that. Him and Wixie, and as we've already said, Rowie and Parks and Warner in the middle there. But 9 score involvements, 5 marks, 4 of those contested, 17 pressure acts. Sam Reed, probably the best game he's ever played for the Swans.
Yeah, up definitely in modern times for sure.
He's probably kicked more in a game, but have these, have they ever been as critical as the 3 he kicked, in this game, and plus that full rounded, really great game. It was just he just played a really great game. He just looked on fire, didn't he? He was hungry. He was on. He was pumped. I was really I think most Swans fans were really happy to see that, he was in a good space and playing well. But let's hope he can back it up, eh? And what's his name? Luke Darcy.
Luke Darcy.
Honestly, good God. Ben Reed. I mean, this goes to my point. Like, commentators are just kind of meant to know. They got like a few, things that they kind of really need to nail are usually the players' names.
I would have thought that would have been the first thing you get good at.
That's commentating 101, I think. But
that's one of the reasons why I don't think I could be not only the energy and insanity that I would bring to the whole thing, and the unprofessionalism and the swearing and everything that comes with myself. But but a big part of it would be recognizing the names off the bat, and even then I think I could do a pretty good job compared to some gentlemen. And I'm sure they were slipping him a note, in front of him, just refused to read it or something. I don't know what's going on.
Maybe he can't read.
That could be a thing. If that's the case, I'm sorry and I apologize in advance, but I don't think that's the way it is. But,
yeah, no, mate. All right, let's get on to Errol in Goulden We Trust. Oh, wow.
Oh, my Lord. Okay, so the nicest boot we have in the team right now, other than maybe Blakey. We see
Campbell, he wasn't there, but
Campbell as well, but not only his kicks at goal, which was, we don't have to go any further than that last goal to get us in front. That was just cold as ice, absolutely. It's also his kicking around the field, like just beautiful weighted kicks, right in the right position. instead of just blasting the ball up forward into the square, he looks sideways. He finds Juzzy, 35 meters out right in front. Look to the left. There he was. He nailed that kick straight to Juzzy's chest. So he's just got the smarts. He's not fazed about the speed of the game. He's caught up entirely. The game's starting to keep up with him now. And his tackle and his tackle pressure, his pressure acts, is putting together the whole thing. All right. And we've been saying his name, and I think Warner is an example of this. We say their name in the top 5 or 6, right? And then slowly they start to work their way up. And Gordon is one of those players where his name's starting to get mentioned week in, week out. And he's so young. He's got a lot to come ahead of him. And he may be a future captain of the team, mate. So, yeah, he's winning his own ball. He's strong around the contest. And he's nailing these kicks and being smart about it all. He's got everything. He got
this is a favourite moment, actually. He got Maxi Gorn, tackled him holding the ball. I thought that was a pretty good little one there.
That's right, yeah.
Remember, he got him from behind there. Look, it's just, when you think about a young player and their evolution, they have to go through the highs and lows and those pressure moments. And you hope that you can have more highs than lows, and you hope that you can come through and deliver when you have those clutch moments. And I'm not saying that he might always be able to do it, but the more exposure he has to it and the more he ends up, being able to drag us through like this, he's just gonna go from strength to strength. And obviously that was a huge fourth quarter. He had 8 disposals, 5 contested possessions, and the goal that we keep speaking about. Was it a free kick? I think it was. But look, I'm pretty biased.
It was just as much as a free kick for holding as the one that Warner copped at the end of that Richmond game. It was if you're going to call it soft, it was just as soft as that one. So
I remember
it is what it is.
There were heaps of really soft holding calls in the Carlton game, especially in that second quarter when they kicked 9. Tommy McCartan on Kerner. I was just like, they're just calling everything. And look, that was it? What's his name? Bowie, is that his name? The redhead, the defender. Yeah, I think that's his name. Anyway, he had hands on him. He was holding him, but you probably could let it go. So anyway, look, free kicks. We were +1. I think the first time this year. Have we come up on top? I'll have to double check that. But
we have come on top again. Yeah.
Have we?
Yeah.
But look. I thought it was, all in all, it was a pretty exciting game. And I think part of that was because the frees were sort of reined in somewhat. There was still 40 in total, 41 or whatever it is. But there's a big difference between 40 and 60. So, look, some went their way, some went our way. So, look, I know there's some Dees fans who are kicking up, especially that call. And that last knees in the back from Lang. I don't know how they can fight that though. I mean, it's that was so pretty
clear. Apparent. Like, don't get me wrong. Was it on purpose? Probably 90% of it wasn't, but it was still there. How can you get
someone to what? Because you're falling down and then someone else's knees go in your back. You're somehow staging for knees in the back. Like I don't know.
I wouldn't worry about it too much. I think what we found, and we both feel the same way about this, like just blaming free kicks every time your team loses. That's when I was looking at the Dees team page or whatever, the fan page, they were doing exactly that. And it's boring. It's very boring. And I know it's easy to say from the Swans side when we're winning, but even when we've lost the game and a couple of free kicks didn't go our way, it's boring to listen to. So nonetheless, some of it were there, some of them weren't. Nonetheless, we took the chances when we had them. Gordon still had to make that kick. Papley still had to make that kick amongst everything. So the game was won.
Yep, totally, man. All right, let's get on to Logan. We refer to him as Jumbo Jet because Bevy Extraordinaire Jules, that's her nickname for him. But I think there's a couple floating around. I saw something on Facebook, an image of him mocked up as Wolverine because obviously that's Logan is Wolverine's name. Yeah. So, but how was Jumbo, mate? He was massive this game.
Look, what can I say, Jules? The Jumbo Jet is taking off, isn't he? He's week in, week out. He's getting better and better and better. He's finding more of the ball. He's getting his own ball. He's getting his own pressure on it. His work rate around the ground was very, very tidy. His really tidy with his positioning. So I think one of them was, oh goodness, who was it that kicked it to him? Instead of running down the square, he ran into the pocket, copped a nice little chip kick.
Juzzy, yeah.
Was that Juzzy? Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he totally worked over Lever that play, didn't he? He just looked so much older than he is. It was such a good play, that one.
He's very clever, and he's got when he connects with that kick, it is a beautiful kick. It's straight as they come. So lovely to see McDonald up there getting a point in the ABOB medal. Like, that's just, for that to happen is incredible. He's without Buddy, right? So so a bit of inside info for our fans out there. I was pushing for Rowbottom to get the single point to come third in this ABOB medal for this week, and we put it out to our little bevy community, myself, Noddy, Steve-O, Jules, and Brett, and we chatter a fair bit. And Jules came back with the fastest, most well put together argument I've ever seen, and she turned me in a heartbeat. So it was that lack of presence from Buddy for him to have stepped up against Lever, arguably he's one of the best defenders in the game. He did it all. So good on him, Logan. Big wins for him.
Definitely, mate. Three goals, 2 behinds. I mean, one of his behinds they could have had a look at that. He thought it went through. They just went, nah, behind. I mean, look, the umpire called it, so move on. But, 4-1, and suddenly, it's a little bit better than 3-2, isn't it? So 16 disposals, 9 score involvements, all those things we've already mentioned. You wonder if he's able to step up when Buddy's not there. He's out of his shadow, and he can, and it wasn't just set shots. He had a couple, but it was more, I think Horse is saying he found different ways to score. He was crumbing at one point, and it just shows the depth of his abilities at this age. You can see he's a hard worker. He's running up and down the ground. He's also contributing to the tackle pressure, but he's also crumbing and assisting and being involved in kicking. And it's just, it's just really, really exciting. And I think he's at cruising altitude. He's taken off, and he's just at 10,000 feet. They're about to serve the food and the drinks, and Jumbo is just like, sit back, relax, guys. I've got this.
I think we said earlier in the season, when we were kind of seeing really good things out of Logan, he was having to find a way to compete with the tools, right? I think at the time we had Buddy, Reed, and McLean in the team, and I think there was 2 of the 3 of them were always around and with Logan, and it seemed like he struggled to find his place in the game. Like, he's not quite going to take those contested marks. He's not going to take a specky. His ground ball, is decent, but he's not quite there yet. But it seemed like the last couple of weeks, he's really starting to find a way to get his own ball, find his own game, trying to find his own little space in that forward half. So, yeah, very excited. Like, it's just his growth is going to be very, very tidy.
Yeah, it was good to see a bit of emotion as well with him. I mean, we see it regularly with, Juzzy, Papley, and Goulden, but it was great to see Jumbo get a bit excited there as well. And I think that what a ripper, Logan McDonald. There's been a few little memes out there as well saying, how on earth could North Melbourne not have taken Logan at pick? Well, they have 4 or 3. No, 3, wasn't it? They took Will Phillips, who I think hasn't really played much. I think he's had a few injuries and glandular fever or something. But, yeah, look, stoked that we got Logan and that he's hitting his straps. And, it was great. It was really, really great. We've got a few honourable mentions here, mate. Do you want to kick us off with yours?
Yeah, look, I'm going to jump around a little bit. I think I want to give a big shout out to Amadi. The numbers on the sheet aren't going to look great for Amadi, but the numbers aren't always telling the story, as we know. But his ability to just bang into a contest, put his body in the line.
He was ferocious. He was ferocious. Yeah,
tough. He is a tough player. Like, he's a tough guy. He's not afraid of anyone, and that was a big part. I was hoping that he'd come in last week, actually, thinking that he would against a pretty tough team. But he looks fantastic. He looks really good, and I'm glad that he came in. The other one is Millsy, of course. Unlucky to get in the top 3, but I guess we've got to share it around sometime, Millsy. Calm down. But 26 disposals, 12 of them contested. 10 tackles, just two-way effort from the captain, having the best year of his career. That's saying, again, something, considering how good his career has been already. He's picked up that captaincy and he's absolutely run with it, mate. What about you?
Look, the McCartans, obviously, Paddy with his intercepts and his kicking. They both had a couple of clangers, and every player does. I do think Paddy's probably got a nicer field kick than Tommy, but look, just the way that they're so in sync, aren't they? So they instinctively read off each other. So if Paddy is bodied up with someone, then Tommy just goes, "Yeah, I got this," and slips in, takes the intercept mark. And the other way around, if Tommy's working someone, Paddy's like, "Yeah, got this," slip in. And then obviously the scenes after the game where they're hugging each other, and then the interview that he did there on whatever that Fox Footy thing was. That was, yeah, my goodness, hard to I was cutting an onion pretty heavily at that point.
There were so many onions being cut around me at that point. I
was chomping on onions, mate.
It was just wolfing into them, absolutely.
I
was like, I got to call my brother. I was thinking, I've got to call my brother. I got to call him. Like, how dare I not?
An overwhelming urge to call my brother somehow. Yeah. No, that just awesome. They talk about Paddy's story being the best story in the AFL, other than Sam Doherty, and I you can't argue with that. And
that's right.
We just look so fantastic. But other than that, it was just a pleasing effort from the back seven. And I think we spoke about. Actually, I'll go in with Ollie there, mate. If you don't mind, I'll take Ollie, because I was really impressed with his game, because it's been a couple of weeks now. I think he's pushed back, and I was wondering if he was going to push forward again with Blakey coming in, but he held that sort of back pocket sort of extra man. He was taking intercept marks, but he was also kicking out and running out, and he looks pretty good back there. And I think we had flagged this maybe about a month ago, or I don't know if it was on the potty or it was on the chat. But we're just trying to figure out who's going to be our next Nick Smith. Fan of the potty, obviously. Shout out to you, Smooch. But I just thought Ollie looked good, and hoping he can string it together there. But
he sat with a few players as well, with Viney, Langdon, Brayshaw all throughout the game.
Yep.
And they didn't have much of an opportunity when he was sitting on them. So Harry Cunningham sitting out with the injury to, is it oblique or something? So, look, Colin O'Regan, we'll touch on it now. Colin O'Regan's concussion test early in the game, or 4 minutes into the game. No, 4 minutes into the game, he got the knock. About halfway through that first quarter, he got taken out. And it seemed like he wasn't there. And he was kind of, I'm looking at him to kind of take that Harry Cunningham spot. But now with Ollie Florent rolling back and doing the job that he is, between the two of them, I think we've got a bit of a battle. So, always a good thing to have. Cunningham being Mr. Dependable, been an absolute winner for the club for a long time in his career. But let's see where Ollie ends up. But the bigger Ollie is starting to look a bit better.
Definitely, mate. Have you got any more honourable mentions there?
Just Rowie, mate. Just what can I say about
Rowie love? Yeah.
Rowie love. 37 pressure acts. Closest to him was 24 with Millsy. He is just, like I said at the beginning, just really doing it both ways, defensively minded, being very mature about it. I've got a lot to say about him. I've got a lot of time for him. I hope his field kicking sharpens up, so some of the other Swans fans just shut the hell up. But for the most part, I think he's trajecting very, very well.
Totally, and it was refreshing for BT not to call his game and then have that sort of awkward moment. I think it was in the Richmond game where he'd done something and then you could tell BT wanted to sort of say something but then didn't want to put the family out. So that was kind of nice. Speaking of commentating moments, we've already spoken about Darcy and Ben Reid, but there was, I think it was Hamish at one point had said, "Oh, geez, the Dees would really love Stephen May right now." And Wayne Carey just goes, oh, I'm pretty sure the Swans would love Buddy.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was a pretty funny moment, but I was like, you're relying on Wayne Carey to give you some love. It's pretty dire, isn't it? But
yeah, that's probably it.
Mate, so AFL listed Reid, Mills, McDonald, Parker, Papley, Heaney as best on ground for us. We didn't really talk about Heaney. He had, a comparatively quiet game. A lot of people are thinking he might be injured or something going on in his personal life because he's obviously down on his output that he started the season on fire, obviously. But so typically what happens is he plays through pain, and Horse has been on the record saying that before. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's something going on there. But nevertheless, he kicked 1-2, I think, in the end, and was a real contributor as well. So can understand that. We obviously should say something. We've touched on it, but like Max Gawn had a game for the ages. Really
unbelievable player. Like he was at 20 off the top of my head, 26 touches, 3 goals, just screaming game. Like he is phenomenal, and he was doing it in the ruck, and then at first quarter he rolled over into the second quarter, rolled over the front, and just gave Tom McCartan a struggle over time. He is incredible, mate. He's too big. He's very skillful. He's got a great head about him. He's very great player. Fantastic.
What is it? 11 and 7. He's got like almost 20 centimeter difference. Not quite, but that's, but I mean, so he's punching above his weight there, Tommy, but there's almost no one that would be able to stop that because he's just so, reads the ball well, and he's got those long arms. And I mean, you'd love him if he was in your team. Obviously, he's such a great character, and it was just hats off to Gawny there.
A lot of respect for him, I think, across the AFL, right? Just as a player, just as a person, as a character. I love the guy. So glad we could stop him in some way.
Yeah. Well, did we? I mean, I think
not really.
I mean, didn't he just miss the one? Did he get one behind or something? Like when it was that down towards the end, he took that contested mark and then kicked it on the left. And I think, that was when it went through as a behind. So that was probably the only knock on his game other than that Goulden tackle where he got him. But he got 10 points for the coach's vote, obviously. And then Reedy got 6. Paddy got 4, Logan got 4, Mills got 4, and then Viney got 2. So shows you the Swans were in the thick of it there, mate. So good to see. All right, mate, let's get on to hot topics. How do we pull up after the match? Any MRO, any changes we would make? Let's have a quick chat about the VFL, et cetera, et cetera. So just go back to I think we were chatting about Colin O'Riordan earlier. So obviously got that pretty solid hip from Maxi Gawn coming through there, which is a shame because obviously he's had a couple of good weeks. He's fought hard to get back in. So he's going to be out for the 12 days now. Mm-hmm. But I mean, that might work out well because obviously we've got the bye. So he might be up and running by the time we hit Adelaide Oval. But do you think this is a question without notice? I've been thinking about it today actually. Do we debut Gould against Port Adelaide at Adelaide Oval because he's from SA, Glenelg? Is this the game we bring him in? Because obviously they got a few big forwards. They got Charlie Dixon. They got Finlayson, Marshall, although he's a bit slight. Does he come in? And then obviously it's going to depend on Cunningham, as you already said. But just question without notice, mate.
Great
does
question.
He make his debut? Yeah.
I think part of my reasoning as to why he shouldn't is because we lost to Dawson to go home. So I don't want to get Will to feel any homesick. I don't want him to go back. So,
but flip it around though, Chris. So what if he gets out there and they boo him because they're like, because South Australians they're a lovely bunch, but they could maybe boo him and that could push him away further.
The last time I was in South Australia watching a Swans game, they threw beer on us because we won the game. So I don't know how nice they are, but I'm sure they are. I'm sure. Actually, my cousin and mine live out that way, so that's me having.
I met a couple of Crows fans. They're nice people.
Pretty decent. But not so much Koshi. But nonetheless, look, Will needs to have a game as soon as he has the opportunity to. But I would love to see Colin O'Riordan keep that spot. Come back in, keep that spot. Have a reason why he shouldn't have it. He's given all the reasons why he should take that spot for a while, and he's given no reason why he shouldn't be pushed out. So that's kind of where I sit on that. Will, don't get me wrong. I think he's got a long career ahead of him, but just maybe not quite yet.
Yeah, how'd you see Foxy's game, mate?
Yeah, a bit quiet, but I mean, it's hard with the defenders, right? So, like, if you don't see him, you don't hear him, you probably assume they're doing an okay job. So it's one of those ones where I watched it again. I didn't quite see his influence, and so it's hard for me to say. I'm not going to say anything other than I have always loved his game. I loved his running ability. I love the way he plays. So maybe it's one of those ones where he was just a bit spaced out with the speed of it, given that he hasn't played. He hasn't played a game in the seniors since the last round of last year, right? Because he missed out in the Tassie game.
Yeah, that's right. He's been out with his various injuries this year. So, yeah, no, that could be just that, mate. Like, he's going to work his way back into it. Obviously, he's been on fire in the VFL and deserves his spot. And I think, we here on the Bevy, we really like what Foxy brings to the team. Another old head, he's usually pretty calm and cool, collected. And I think there were some criticisms. Obviously Fritsch is their most dangerous forward, and he got off the chain a little bit when Foxy was meant to be marking him. I think maybe for all three of his goals. So that was one knock on his game. But as we said, first week back, it's another level.
Against arguably one of the best, like middle-sized forwards in the game.
Exactly.
Like he's great. So that's a really good question, Noddy. What do you reckon? Foxy or Will to come in, or does he have another spot to come in for?
Yeah, I think he'd be pretty hard. Like I agree with you. I think like if Colo Reardon doesn't have any ongoing concussion side effects or all that sort of stuff, then I think he deserves to come back in. The other thing is like Campbell and Cunningham are sort of waiting in the wings as well. Although we watched a bit of the VFL, I didn't watch the whole thing. I was in and out. Campbell played, but I don't know. He probably wasn't as effective as he might want to hoped to have been. Obviously, the regular suspects, Clark, Taylor, and Stevens, were racking it up, but the usage wasn't always great. And I mean, I saw I don't know how many clangers from Stevens it was. But I think there are a fair few seagulls on the ground, so there might have been a few reasons for that. But no, look, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I just something about that. It just entered in my head today. Will Gould get a debut here if the planets align and they Cole doesn't come back in and they decide to give Braden another week and, Cunningham's still away. And I think it's going to depend on whether Fox holds or not. But I'm with you, mate. I think that it'd be pretty stiff to knock Foxy out of the team, I think, based on that. But we'll have to wait and see how we go there. But I think if we didn't say it already, let's say it again now, and this has been doing the rounds as well. Do the Swans play better with Buddy out of the side? I'm laughing at that question. I can't say that question seriously. I'm sorry. Are the Swans better without Buddy?
Look, I think I have to go back and look at all the numbers, right? But from first impressions, from the way that my eyes watched the game, just the feel of it, no, I still think that the best forward in the modern time is still a good addition to any team. Yeah. And also the fact that he kicked 5 last week, and also punched a guy that probably deserved it.
It wasn't intentional.
It wasn't intentional.
Low impact,
unintentional.
All that stuff.
Yeah, all that stuff.
It was cowardly. We didn't touch on that, did we?
Oh no,
all the fallout from that mudslinging match. But
why they bothered apologizing for any of that bothers me. Right? It's just whatever. Anyway.
I think someone, who was it? Was it Titus O'Reilly or someone saying that Adam Goods had to have 2 documentaries made before the AFL apologised? So I guess they're moving a bit quicker these days.
Mate, Titus O'Reilly has got his finger on the pulse right there. That is exactly the way it is. Yeah. It took so much effort from all AFL fans that will kind of had their eye on it to get an apology, or even half an apology, or an acceptance that something was wrong. Yeah. In the meantime, someone calls it a bit cowardly and far out. How many people came out? They must have had so many scripts and whatnot to cover writers to have the apology coming out. But yeah,
you can just imagine Gil, right? He's like announced his retirement. He's like, guys, I just want a nice, calm, 6 months left of my tenure. I want everything to go really well. And he's like, oh, hang on. I've appointed Brad Scott head of whatever the bloody hell he is, and we've got this dissent thing. And now we've got, 2 champions of the game. Their lawyers are going at each other. Yeah. And it's just, What a tumultuous last 6 months.
I feel kind of bad for him. If he nails his Tassie thing, then I think we're going to kind of let it all slide. But in the meantime, it's just not. Anyway, to the question.
That'll be an interesting topic that maybe we can pick up in the buy round, actually. Just thinking of that on the fly. The Tassie, the 19th license, because
Pridham has a lot to say about it, which I kind of appreciate. So I would like to read everything that Pridham is saying, because he's not a hothead. He's not a guy who's not going to say anything out of character. So I would like to get my head wrapped around what he says. But anyway, Noddy, to your own question, mate.
Yep.
Buddy, is he better in our side, or do we play better without him? What I was kind of wrapping up with was, I think we kind of throw their structure out a bit, and our young boys just kind of run a bit ragged, and they just seem to be a bit more random rather than the typical Buddy game. Buddy game's been documented entirely. We know exactly the way he gets. Irrespective of how well you know his game, he still manages to get 2 feet in front of you and still manages to score on you. It doesn't matter who you put on him most of the time, except for Stephen May and a couple of other guys. But so what do you think? How does it look on your side?
Without a doubt, we're better in the team when he's playing. I think it would be a stupid thing to leave him out of the team. But I think what it is just we're looking at a game that we just played so well in, and Sammy Reid had such a blinder. And Sam Reid is playing that role, really. He's that forward, he's arguably Sammy Reid's better at taking contested marks. I think that's a fair enough, fair statement. But he's not really known for it. He does take them every now and then, but it's more about his his moments of magic and his, set shots and all that sort of stuff, and just his presence in the team. So it's whether or not, I think it comes down to the role and then how many tools we keep, and, because then you've got Logan, who's, if you do have Buddy and Reid or Buddy and McLean, and then you've got that third tall like Logan, we're a little bit tall. And as you said, Logan is getting better, but his ground game probably isn't up there. He's not, it's just physics, right? Small's going to be better at the crumbing than he is, even though he's quite good at it. So I think it's just about the role and who you get to do what. So I'm thinking, if Reid is in this vein of form and Buddy comes back in, then maybe Buddy's higher up the ground, maybe. I don't know. But absolutely Buddy comes in. It's just a no-brainer, I think.
Yeah. But, in the form that he's carried throughout this year, there's just, of course, he plays.
I mean, he's kicking well. He's running well. And you just have to remember, everyone was on defensively. Our pressure was through the roof. Everyone worked hard. So if we keep that same mindset when Buddy comes in, depending on the role, how wouldn't that just be a better outcome? But yeah, I mean, all hypotheticals, obviously. We touched on Heaney earlier. He's a bit quiet, isn't he? So you think anything's going on now? I mean, we can create some conspiracy theories here if you want.
Well, yeah, look, let's go on. Let's get on with it. No, it's been a bit quiet, but I mean, in watching the game, it's not that he's not been around the ball. He's definitely getting around it. I think I was trying to think about it today. I'm like, what is it that's different about his game that perhaps is not quite giving him that same impact? He's expected to play a little bit more mids, right? And he's kind of in this weird outside mid game where he's around the ball, but he's not quite around the ball. Now, his major skill sets is his ability to run and his overhead mark, his tackle as well. So I don't know if being an outside mid is going to get the most out of his skill set. And maybe that's where my mind is heading. I think I'd much prefer him just be a full-time forward or half forward, or to be in the middle, like inside middle. But there's no point in doing that considering how well those boys have been gelling. So it's a bit of a weird spot. I don't think he's been quiet, actually. I think he's actually had his impact around the ball with pressure, but he's just not been able to get his hands on the ball. So his numbers look down, but his impact on the game is not necessarily bad.
I think it's he'd just been kicking so well. I think he'd kicked 11 straight before he hit his first behind for the year, and whatever round it was, 5 or 6, and then he's probably been kicking more behinds than not. But you think he's going to be he's probably averaging a couple of goals a game, and he's doing, as you said, all that running, that two-way running, that the defensive assistance. I think what it is, some Swans fans have said, he's a mark that he would take with his eyes closed. He's dropping, and I think it was a bit wet. I mean, Lever was putting down marks cold, and he's normally really good at that, and I think it's hard to judge Heaney for not taking a mark when he normally would. So I don't know. But look, I mean, you back him in. If he's being picked, then he's healthy enough to play. I'm not suggesting there's anything wrong with him. It's clear like his form from rounds 1 to 5 it was better than what it is now. But yeah, maybe that's to do with role, and maybe he just needs to go in front of goal again and kick a few more goals over the behinds and to get the confidence up again. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure his girlfriend lives around the corner from him, because he Instagrams every now and then from this unit block that I know exactly where it is, because it's like pointing towards my house. So I might pop over and just say hello and see how he's going. Say
g'day, Heath.
Have a good chat to him.
Here, Chris from the Bevy here, mate. Yeah. Just checking in on you. Just a community. It's coming from a really stalking and all that sort of stuff.
I mean, a little bit, but I've got Earl Grey tea. Sit down, let's just have a chat, kind of thing.
Earl Grey tea.
Well, how good was it when he got absolutely falconed and still found the ball to mark it? That was awesome.
Actually, favourite moment, that reminds me, that little goose step that he put on.
Oh, yeah.
So this is the thing. We're harsh on him. The guy's a superstar.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just like, maybe he's a little bit down on output, but like he's still having impact in the game. Yeah. And he's tough. He's probably his harshest critic. You can see him when he misses a goal. He's really, really hard on himself. And that little in and out, that goose step, I think they referenced David Campese. I was talking to my wife during the game, and they're always quick to say, rugby heartland and all that sort of stuff. Here's a question maybe for us for homework or for some of the listeners. Did he actually play rugby league growing up as a junior?
Good question.
Or do the commentators just like to lean on that fact because we're non-traditional?
I think it's just from that part of the heart that is rugby heartland. I think his brothers played rugby league, so maybe that's a part of it. So
chances are he played a bit in the juniors. So.
Yeah, so he probably played. It was probably playing at school and everything else. I don't know, but I actually don't know. It's a good question. That's something that we probably should know. I apologize to everyone listening, but that goose step that is pure winger. Situation right there, just stepping around a winger, isn't it?
In and out. Yeah, that was just broke the guy's ankles. It was awesome. Which is slang for sat the guy on his ass basically. But that was great, mate. We've spoken about the brothers McCartan. How we all had a good cry there. That was fantastic.
Look, they are getting it done. All right, so you were mentioning before how they both got their slightly different roles, Tommy's got like doing a 101, Paddy comes sliding over. So Paddy McCartan is coming 7th in the league in intercepts. That's incredible. Nice. While at the same time, Tommy McCartan is coming 2nd in 1%ers. So that's like spoils, punches, shepherds, all that kind of fun stuff. But those two are just like perfect synergies, I guess, for two big lads in the defensive side trying to shut down any forwards. The two of them just have natural skill sets that are working it out. And when he was talking about how special it was to have his brother, we all cried, and I look forward to crying again. And I'll call my brother after this, and as everyone should. So I'm very happy with the way they're going. The numbers are showing it as well.
Nice one, mate. I think you had a shout out because we had a couple of special guests do the halftime report.
We did, mate. We had Lee Davis. So someone on Twitter, I posted on Twitter to ask the question, would anyone be interested in doing a halftime report from the MCG? So typically Noddy and I, or Noddy and someone else, or myself and Brad or someone, we normally do it. We're not going to be at the MCG. And it's always better when we do it at the live venue. It just has that vibe about it. You can feel the energy. So Lee Davis was lovely enough to put his hand up and do it. So it was pretty funny though. The first one he sent me was just, he was in a room. It was just way too loud. I could barely hear him. I said, look, mate, if you don't mind, just do it again. He goes, cool. He sent it to me. The next one he sent it to me was right at the end. You could hear the horn go off as it was finishing off the review. And I sent him a message saying, look, mate, that was really good. That was fantastic. Thank you for doing that. And he said that he actually had one in the middle that was much better, but his mate thought he took a photo instead of taking a video. So he just wasted all of that spot. And he's just like, oh, the guy ruined it. So, but it looks like they're interested in doing it again at the MCG for the next game down there. So
awesome.
Brilliant.
Awesome.
So that's just great of him. So thank you. Anyone out there interested in following, it's at Lee Davis 14. So that's LEIGHDAVIS 14. Make sure you follow him. He's a big Swans fan and also a cricket nut as well, if you're into that.
Awesome. Yeah, that was really good. Thanks, guys. I think we're just a general chat now. Okay, we've touched on the descent and Brad Scott and Gill and all that stuff. I think we read just before we started recording tonight that they're saying that AFL has come out saying that they're softening the rules.
Yeah, softening the rules around descent. So but they didn't want them to tell the players, clubs, or fans. So rough one. Like, all right, the Scott brothers were insane on the field and they're insane off the field, mate. Are we surprised? Are we surprised that there's just that they have like the hottest heads and they just refuse to give up? There's no surprise. It's an absolute rabble. So look, cooler heads prevail. Let's see where this ends up. Makes me happy. I would much rather them saying out there openly say, look, we may have gotten a little bit too hard on that road. We're going to start to soften it up. Or we're going to have, or better yet, give some examples of what's allowed and what's not allowed so that we can actually apply to it. But no, we're going to have to deal with this kind of weird background Tom Brown situation, and we're going to have to just work with it.
I think they're saying, you can show emotion so long as you don't show dissent, but there's still a bit of ambiguity there. But I think that we were saying, just don't change it now, change it at the end of, stop chopping and changing. But, I think it was a bye round, obviously, so fewer games. But I think I read that there were no 50s, for dissent, given this round. So, maybe it's already started to head down the right path. Who knows? But
do you feel that this was pushed on by the umpires themselves or the community? What does your heart tell you?
I don't know. I mean, I thought this was one of Gill's last things with plus the 19th and all the AFLW stuff he's doing. But I thought this was one of his key KPIs. It's probably for that last little golden handshake. But I don't know, mate. I thought it was about stopping the number of umpires leaving the game at a grassroots level, so that you can show at the top level how you're meant to treat the umpires. So I'm not quite sure actually, but I'm not sure. It's definitely had the reverse effect.
It's just made all the fans are just angry.
Get stuck into the umpires even more because
and I don't like that. None of us like that, right? None of us want anger towards any umpires at any moment, even if they get a call clearly wrong. There shouldn't be. Everyone's allowed a clanger, right? And that shouldn't be a thing. Like to just yell at the umpires from any side. You don't do that. Even the crowd, I don't like that either. But so I think there just needs to be something better.
You're all high and mighty on the podcast, mate. But when you get to the O'Reilly, you're just as much as a rebel.
I have never screamed at an umpire. I've screamed about a decision, but I never told an umpire how I felt about it necessarily.
All right.
I'm putting that down.
Fair play, mate. All right, no, I'm with you, mate. And we'll just have to wait and see what happens because it seemed like it was just before we started recording. So I don't know if it was clickbait or whatever, but we'll dig into that and see what the news is in the coming days. But hot topics, we've probably done enough on the VFL, haven't we? We touched on, you mentioned Corey Warner's great goal there, didn't you?
No, so it's just so if anyone hasn't seen it, go look at Corey Warner, not Chad Warner. His goal in the VFL, it was just Chad-like. So maybe the Warners just have that in their DNA to go screaming out of the centre and kick one from outside 50. That's just part of what they do. Awesome. Everyone in the family can probably do it. Mum, nan, brothers, sisters, dad. Everyone probably has that skill set in them. So, we should just hire them all. I reckon have them all in the team.
And 2 sets of brothers, and we'll just
be
crying.
There's 3 of them.
Three. I think. Gordon's.
No. There's another Warner apparently.
Oh right, no. Sorry, I think there's 4 actually, isn't it?
Oh yeah, you're right.
4 in total.
4. Yeah.
But Look, we obviously lost to Casey Demons. We were close by half time, and then they ran away. I think it was 20 or 30 points in the end. But look, I probably don't have many other points to add there, mate. So injuries, we've touched on Cunningham. Sheldrick's coming back. Naismith is running. Obviously, O'Riordan's going to be protocols. I think that's about it. Is that your read?
That's all I understand. I think for the most part, we're coming back healthy. So nothing new in that side of the ground.
Awesome, mate. All right. So looking ahead, as we said earlier, we are coming sixth on 8 wins and 4 losses. If 13 wins is generally required for finals, then we need at least 5 more wins from the remaining 8 games. We obviously have the bye coming up next week. Straight out of the bye are probably our 2 hardest games of the year, I think. Obviously, we've got Freo later on, but yeah, Port first up away and then Saints at home. So, we can talk about this in the episode next week. But how do you think we'll run there, mate?
Yeah, look, Port, St Kilda, both decent teams. Everyone's playing quite well. When they do play well, they can beat anyone really. It's just we just got to control our own game. I think our best is up there with top 4. As we've shown, it can be. So I don't know.
Well, the media is backing us in again. It's funny because we beat Melbourne on their home deck, and all of a sudden we're a top 4 contender again. But I guess they've forgotten, the games against the Lions, the Suns, and the Blues. But anyway, we'll keep doing our thing, and I think we'll get there one way or another, mate. But I think that's probably it. Have we got one last thing?
The one last thing that I probably have is that we next week we'll be doing a interesting thing with the podcast. We're still yet to put it all together, but what I will be doing is catching up with Donnie Hess, who's actually the head coach for the Des Moines Roosters Aussie rules football team, and Des Moines is out there in the States, which is going to be a very interesting chatter. So for those who want to understand more about your man, it's at Coach Hess 40, so COACHHESS 40. And just keep an eye on that side, and we're going to be doing some fun things, having a chat with him about football in the States, and of course talking about the buy round and seeing where the Swans are up until now.
Awesome, mate. And we'll put it out to the bevy, but if someone, Jules, Brett or Steve-O want to hop on, and maybe we can do a quick State of the Union to see how the list is running. I know we've got a few contracts that are running out at the end of this year. We can maybe do a quick, buy, sell, trade sort of thing. We'll have to tee that up. But, otherwise we can just keep it loosey-goosey and go from there, mate. But I think that's probably it, eh?
That's about it.
Nice one, mate. All right, well, that brings us to the end of this episode. So on behalf of the bevy, I'd like to say thank you very much for everyone listening in. Keep an eye out for teams and everything else we put on socials. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at A Bevy of Bloods for our other updates, videos and announcements. Until then, up the Bloods and can't you Swannies.